Hey everyone, welcome back. You ready for another deep dive?
Always ready to dig in. What are we tackling today?
Well, today we're taking a look at something pretty crucial, the Bill of Rights.
Ah, the foundation of American freedom, right.
Exactly. But get this, our source material isn't some dry legal document. We've got a poetic interpretation, a mnemonic device to help us remember these all-important amendments.
Using mnemonic devices to remember complex information is a time-honored tradition. It goes way back. Ancient orders used all sorts of memory tricks.
Really? I guess it makes sense though, right? Our brains love patterns, like those silly rhymes we all learned as kids.
Oh, absolutely. Rhymes, songs, visual imagery, those things stick with you.
So hopefully this poetic take on the Bill of Rights will help it stick with our listeners too.
Sounds like a plan. Let's see what this poetic interpretation has to offer.
All right, let's kick things off. The poem starts like this. In the land of the brave, where freedom rings, the Bill of Rights protects these things.
Gets right to the point, doesn't it? It reminds us that freedom isn't just a given. It's something we have to actively protect.
And that these rights, they're not just some abstract concept. They have real-world implications.
Yeah.
Imagine, a world where you couldn't speak your mind or practice your religion freely.
It's a chilling thought. The Bill of Rights safeguards those essential freedoms, ensuring that the government can't overreach and infringe on our individual liberties.
Exactly. Okay, so the poem goes on to break down each amendment, and it uses these vivid images to drive the point home.
Let's hear it.
First, your voice, your faith, your pen, speak, believe, and gather again. Pretty powerful, right? It captures the essence of the First Amendment in just a few lines.
The First Amendment is really a cornerstone of American democracy. Freedom of speech, religion, the press, the right to assemble and to petition the government. It's all there in that First Amendment.
It's fascinating how these rights are constantly being debated and tested, especially today with all the discussions around, say, online censorship or the limits of free speech.
Yeah, the First Amendment definitely raises a lot of complex questions, like where do you draw the line between free speech and hate speech? What happens when one person's freedom of expression infringes on another person's rights?
Tough questions, and ones the courts are constantly grappling with. Okay, ready for the next amendment?
Absolutely, lay it on me.
Second, arms to guard the land, a right to bear, a steady hand. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. This one's always a hot topic, isn't it?
No doubt about it. This amendment is probably one of the most debated and controversial in the entire Constitution.
I mean, the Founding Fathers, they were fresh out of a revolution,
Right.
right? So they definitely saw the importance of an armed citizenry.
Right. Back then, the idea of a well-regulated militia was central to their vision of a free state. But today, people interpret the Second Amendment in so many different ways.
For sure. Some people see it as an absolute right to own any type of firearm. Others believe it's more about ensuring the state has the means to defend itself. And then there's the whole debate about gun control, balancing the right to bear arms with the need to prevent gun violence.
It's a complex issue, and there are valid arguments on all sides, and it's a discussion that's not going away anytime soon.
Definitely not. All right, let's see what our poetic guide has to say about the next amendment.
I'm all ears.
Third, no soldiers in your bed. Your home is yours. Their stay is shed. The Third Amendment, no quartering of soldiers. It might seem a bit outdated, but it's actually pretty relevant to our lives today.
Oh, it is. Back in the 1700s, forcing colonists to house British soldiers was a major grievance. It was seen as a huge violation of privacy and personal liberty.
Yeah. I mean, who wants a bunch of strangers living in their house, eating their food, and using their stuff without their permission?
Exactly. So the Third Amendment guarantees that you have the right to control who enters your home.
It's interesting how this amendment has been used to argue against things like unreasonable searches and seizures, even in the digital age.
That's right. The Third Amendment, along with the Fourth, which we'll get to in a minute, establishes this crucial right to privacy and security. And those principles are more important than ever in today's world of, government surveillance and data collection.
Absolutely. Okay, speaking of the Fourth Amendment. Fourth, your privacy, secure and tight. No search or seize without the right. No unreasonable searches and seizures. That's the gist, right?
That's it in a nutshell. It's about protecting individuals from arbitrary government intrusion. Law enforcement can't just barge into your home or seize your property without a warrant based on probable cause.
But of course, things get more complicated when you start thinking about technology. Like, how does the Fourth Amendment apply to things like facial recognition software or the data that companies collect on us,
Yeah.
or government surveillance programs.
It's a real challenge for the courts. They're constantly trying to figure out how these centuries-old principles apply to our modern world.
And the stakes are high. We need to find a balance between protecting individual rights and, ensuring public safety.
Exactly. It's a tightrope walk for sure.
Okay, let's move on to the Fifth Amendment. This one's a bit of a mouthful. Fifth, your rights, a sacred vow, no self-incrimination allowed, due process, the law's embrace, fair trial in every case. Whew.
That's a lot packed into one amendment. But it's all about protecting the rights of the accused. You can't be forced to testify against yourself. You have the right to due process of law, and you can't be tried twice for the same crime.
You know that phrase, pleading the fifth? It's become so common in our culture. Have you ever actually seen someone do that in a real courtroom?
Oh, yeah, it happens. And it's a powerful reminder that individuals have the right to remain silent, especially when they're facing criminal charges.
Okay, what about the Sixth Amendment? What does our poetic source have to say about that one?
Let's see. Sixth, a speedy trial. Your right to see counsel provided, fair and free. So this amendment is all about making sure that justice is swift and impartial.
A speedy trial, the right to confront witnesses, the right to an attorney. These are all essential components of a fair trial.
Absolutely. The Sixth Amendment ensures that the legal process isn't dragged out unnecessarily and that everyone has a chance to defend themselves.
It's amazing how the Founding Fathers really tried to think of everything, all the ways the government could potentially abuse its power and how to prevent that.
Yeah, they were pretty insightful. They understood that power corrupts, and they wanted to create a system that would safeguard individual liberty.
All right, let's keep going. What's next on our Bill of Rights adventure?
Okay, looks like we're up to the Seventh Amendment. Seventh, for civil suits, the rule prevails, a jury trial if justice fails. This one might seem a little specific, but it's actually pretty important.
Okay, I'm listening. Tell me why the Seventh Amendment matters.
Well, imagine you're involved in a legal dispute. Maybe it's a contract disagreement or a personal injury case. The Seventh Amendment guarantees your right to have that case decided by a jury of your peers.
So it's like having ordinary citizens involved in the legal process, making sure things are fair and impartial.
That's the idea. It's a check on the power of the courts and ensures that the law is applied fairly.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting close to the end. What's up next?
Eighth, no excessive bail nor cruelest fate. Punishment must be just and straight. The Eighth Amendment. This one focuses on protecting people from excessive punishments.
So we're talking about things like cruel and unusual punishment, the death penalty, and the whole debate over mass incarceration.
Exactly. The Eighth Amendment serves as a reminder that even those accused or convicted of crimes have basic human rights that must be respected.
It's a powerful statement about the limits of government power. All right, on to the Ninth Amendment. What does our poetic source have to say about this one?
Ninth, rights not listed still hold sway, the people's power come what may. This amendment is a little more abstract, but it's incredibly important.
Okay, break it down for me. What's the Ninth Amendment all about?
Well, it recognizes that the Bill of Rights isn't an exhaustive list of all the rights that people have. Just because a right isn't specifically mentioned doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
So it's like a catch-all. It protects those unenumerated rights that are essential to a free society.
Exactly. The Ninth Amendment acknowledges that individual liberty goes beyond what's explicitly stated in the Constitution.
Okay, last but not least, the 10th Amendment. What have we got?
10th, powers not given are reserved to states and people as deserved. So this amendment is all about balancing power between the federal government and the states.
Right, the principle of federalism. Any powers that aren't specifically given to the federal government are reserved for the states and the people.
Exactly. It's a reminder that the United States was designed as a system of shared power, with the federal government having limited and enumerated powers.
Wow, we made it. We journeyed through all 10 amendments with our poetic guide.
And hopefully we've helped our listeners gain a deeper understanding of the Bill of Rights.
It's not just a historical document. It's a living, breathing document that continues to shape our lives every single day. As we wrap up this deep dive, I have one final question for you, our listeners. Which amendment resonates most strongly with you, and why? It's something worth thinking about. These rights, they're our inheritance, and it's up to us to understand them and protect them.
Well said. The Bill of Rights is a precious gift, and it's our responsibility to ensure that it continues to safeguard our freedoms for generations to come.